So last week, does anybody Dan talked about Jesus' 24 hours of miracles, and one of the things he stated was the two main reasons why Jesus did miracles. All right, two main reasons. Anybody got them? One.
He was a nice person.
He was a nice person that cared for
other people.
Cared for other people. Cared for us. Anybody else know the other reason? It's on your sheet.
He wanted to show his power.
It's at the top of your sheet.
He wanted to
All right, to prove that he was God's son.
Well, okay.
All right, because they'd went something like 900 years without anybody actually performing any miracles or prophesying or anything like that. So he came, and he came with a lot of power. So Dan said, he gave us a couple options of what to cover, and he's going to cover the rest of them. This one is the three that don't really fit into those categories when you first look at it. All right? It has to do with a fig, a fish, and some wine. All right, so starting off, everybody open up your Bibles to John 2:1. And this time we're going to start on the bottom and go up.
Thank you.
I went for Dan.
We'll let Kennedy do it. Kennedy, pop her head up. If you would have held, I'd assumed you're in that next row. All right. 2:1 through 11. 750. Hold on. Is everybody there? Everybody's there. Say everybody's there. Good job. All right.
Where is it?
750.
1 through 11. All right, then we're going to go down this road. All right. Reading.
On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there.
It started already? And Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding.
When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine."
Dear woman, why do you involve me? Jesus replied, my time has not yet come.
His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washings, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons.
Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim.
And then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so.
And the master of the banquet tasted the water and had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridge groom aside
and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now."
This, the first of the miracle signs Jesus performed at Cana in Galilee. He thus revealed his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him.
Okay. All right, so somebody paraphrase that. Somebody do give us the Cliff Notes. You guys still use Cliff Notes, or is the internet?
Sparkle notes.
All right, so somebody give us the Sparkle Notes. Sparkle Notes? There's Sparkle. I'm reserving sparklenotes.com now. This will be my new app. What's up? All right.
Okay, so they were at a wedding and the wine was gone, and so Jesus told people to fill some jars with water, and while giving it to the person who was hosting the event, and he turned it to wine so that they had more wine.
All right, so Jesus more or less turned water into wine. That's the miracle. Does this fit into the motives of Jesus' typical miracles?
No.
He's being a nice person.
Well, he's being nice to the family that hosted the wedding, right? Okay, so a little background on this. Amanda, if you ever grow up, marry somebody that likes to read a lot, because she'll like to do all the research for you. Anyway, Amanda found out that this was most likely a Greek wedding, and because the Jews didn't have a whole lot of parties. Because can you think of one of the Jewish celebrations? What's the biggest one?
Hanukkah.
Passover. Well, Hanukkah. I didn't read about Hanukkah in the New World Testament, but the Passover, it was a real serious thing. It was ceremonial and all that kind of stuff. They didn't have a whole lot of parties. Well, the Greek weddings lasted 7 days. And so what day of the wedding were they at?
The last, second, third.
Third, there you go. Getting warmer, all right. So they're halfway through the wedding and they run out of wine. So what did they do to make their wine stretch?
Mixed it with water.
They watered it down, right? So, like if we were having chili night here and we were running out of chili and they just like dumped some water into it, water it down.
Oh yeah.
It's chili, it tastes gross anyway. Not our chili here, that's awesome. Anyway, so, alright, so they're having this big celebration, they're halfway through it. So how embarrassing would it be to plan a party and not even have half of it taken care of? What's up?
I thought you said we were starting at the bottom and going up.
Down here reading.
Oh.
So,
Way to go change the subject.
you're in the middle, so it didn't really matter to you. So there you go.
Questions and going up.
No, we were reading. Where was I? ADHD.
His mom's recording.
Okay,
Lower down chili.
so you know, just assume that you know his mom's at the wedding, right? So reasonable to say that Jesus and his mom knew this, so like family friend, right? So your family, you know, invited like a cousin's wedding or something like that. They're there, and they're going to be extremely embarrassed.
Crazy.
So obviously, what's Jesus' mom asked?
Jesus can help out.
If Jesus can help out, what's his response?
Why do you involve me?
What did he say? He said, woman. He's like, woman, listen here.
Oh boy.
He said, dear
In
woman.
the camera.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah. Dear woman, now listen here. No. He said, dear woman, which I guess in that culture or whatever is the polite way, informal way of saying, you know, like, Mom, I don't think. Why is he hesitant? Why does he say it's not his time yet? What's that
Back
mean?
then, you could say "dear woman" and you wouldn't. It'd be okay.
I mean, so why does he not want to help? He says it's not his time. What's that mean?
Want to reveal himself.
Because as soon as he reveals himself, what's going to start happening?
Everybody's gonna be asking for miracles.
Everybody's going to be asking for miracles. People that don't like him perform the miracles are going to want to try and do what?
Kill him.
Prove him.
Kill him. So he gives off that, but his mom, being the mother, like all mothers, kind of figures out a way to where he'll do it without him knowing it. So he fills up the basins, and the water basins are used for what?
Water.
Water.
Well, it says what were they? I mean,
Wine.
nope.
Oh.
Dead bodies.
Oh, washing.
Ceremonial washing. What is that, Tom?
Like washing.
Is that like singing Amazing Grace while you wash your hands?
That's like a baptism.
Something could be that.
That's more like
It's
the
a Greek wedding, so I'm not real sure what it could have been there. I mean, if it was there for the
A
Jews
royal
that come to the Greek
bathing.
wedding, but the Jews were kind of, I don't know, notorious or noted through history as they like washed their hands before surgery. You know, the doctors that were Jewish,
Probably a good idea.
and amazingly, their patients were living longer. You know, or making it past surgery because they had what? Less infection. So, you know, when God laid out all these rules in the Old Testament, he laid out a lot of them because they didn't understand germs and viruses and all that good stuff. So yeah, so they had ceremonial washing and being clean. Don't touch a dead guy and then go eat lunch. Send to your army.
That's a
It's
good
all
idea.
in the middle. All right. So drawing that back. So who were the people that were, you know, if we go by Dan's rules, he cares for people. Who were the people positively impacted by this miracle?
people at the wedding.
The people at the wedding. I guess they got to have a good time and celebrate and, you know, go harvest grapes later. Who else? Did I hear the bridegroom? The bridegroom or the family of it?
Or the groom.
What's a bridegroom?
The groom of the bride.
The groom of the bride, the groom. So if it was in today's culture, who's in charge of doing the wedding and reception? Typically, like historic traditional.
The wedding dude?
The woman, the parents of the bride.
Okay.
So, you know,
The guy.
it impacted them.
The wedding guy.
Did anybody believe more in Jesus as God's son because of this miracle?
No.
Probably kind of like did it anonymously though.
He did. He did.
Yes.
But who knew?
Vicious servants that took it to and his mom and
And who else?
God.
Jesus and his mother.
The last verse, especially, so what his disciples knew, and they believed
John
more in
knew
it. Yeah. Well, John knew it. He wrote it down, didn't he? Yeah. But it's in, I'm not sure if it does straight up says that in the NIV, but it does in the Message that that his disciples believed more because of it. So this being said, I mean, we got to look at the obvious point here of that some people use this story as a, you know, condoning drinking. You know what I mean? Like Jesus liked to party. That's what it is. We've been to weddings where they have to read a verse, and this is the verse they read because they plan on getting drunk in a minute. And that's the only verse that they probably agree with in the whole Bible. But they're in a church, and that was what the preacher asked for them to do. So, so what's the moral of the story? Do you think Jesus is like all for drunkenness and partying and? All right. It says that they're at the party. It doesn't say anything about him drinking. It says the disciples are there, right? But what's the most important thing here? How many parties have you ever been to where your mom's there?
I've actually never been to a party.
You know what I mean?
I remember that.
So can you imagine a pretty wild party with your mom there with you? I don't know.
Pretty wild.
I can't with my mom. But my mom's side of the family, they don't drink. But if somebody walked in, they would think that they were drunk because they just have a party wherever they're at. I mean, they're just full of life and fun, and they're all ADHD, so they're just having a good. They're all of them. So. All right.
Basically have parties no matter where they are.
Okay, so not only does it not mention that Jesus was drinking, or partying hardy, whatever, it also mentions that he's definitely not the life of the party. Right? Because if he was the life of the party, he'd been like, "Hey, y'all, I just did that. Party on." Right? I mean, that's if you
That is exactly what Jesus would say.
Word to your mother, yes. I almost played that one, the Vanilla Ice Ninja Turtle mac and
I
cheese.
doth bringeth you.
So
fine
anyway,
liquor.
all right. So on to Miracle 2. We're going to go to Matthew 17:24.
6:64.
And I think Acacia is up on the block.
It's the same page.
Let's wait for everybody to get there. So
Pretty sure you can make it.
Matthew 17:24
Okay.
through 27.
After Jesus and his disciples arrived in the Capernaum, the collectors of the
Capernaum, sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Drachma.
Okay. Drachma tax came to Peter and asked, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?"
Yes, he does, he replied. When Peter came into the house, Jesus was the first to speak. What do you think, Simon? He asked. From whom do the kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own sons or from others?
From others, Peter answered. His sons are exempt. Jesus said to him,
But so that we may not offend them, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours.
All right. Was that 27?
Yeah.
All right. So what happened? Somebody give me the sparkle version.
Tax collector came up and he's like, "Give me your money."
Okay. So, and then, so what did he do? Did he reach in his pocket and pull out some money?
No, we gave him a fully detailed list
Of what to do.
to go and put a line in the lake, catch a fish, open its mouth, and go find the money there.
All right. So, did Jesus and his disciples? We hear every now and then he's like leave all your possessions and follow me. He told multiple people that wanted to follow him. He's like you can't be it's harder for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich person to get to heaven. and he tells the rich young ruler one day, like, sell all your possessions and follow me. Did Jesus have any money? Him and his disciples? Nope.
Probably not that much.
Probably not that much. That would mean some.
Oh,
So,
Jesus is kind of God's son, so it comes to him, I guess, if he needs it.
okay, well, right before Jesus is about to be betrayed by Judas, if you read it, he says that I think it was Mary Magdalene or one of the ladies that Jesus had kind of forgiven or whatever, comes in and pours perfume on his head and his feet. And then what does one of the disciples say? Why wasn't that perfume? It was expensive perfume. And says, why wasn't that perfume sold and the money given to the poor? And then John goes on to say that this disciple said this, which it was Judas, because he kept the money. He was the money keeper for the disciples, and he often helped himself to the money. So if they had a money keeper, it's safe to say that they had money, and they probably had to buy food, obviously pay taxes or whatever, but they probably gave it to people like what 1010 Project, right? I mean, people had money to give to the poor people. So anyway, so did Jesus and his group have money? Yes, but probably not a lot. And why do you think Jesus didn't want to use that money?
Because it was for other people.
For other people? Any other reasons?
Had better things to do.
He mainly disagreed with it, didn't he? But how many people in the Bible did he sit there and try to convince that he was Jesus, God's son, and they walked away? So he disagreed with them, but didn't want to take the time to argue with them. Does that sound about right? And he didn't want to use any of the money people had donated for another cause. All right, so we'll jump in. Who was helped by this miracle?
Anybody?
Probably tax
I got two of them. I got a tax collector, and what'd you say?
Everybody else.
Everybody else. Like all the group that he paid for, or what?
I don't know.
All right. So Peter and he obviously covered footed the bill for Peter and Jesus, right? I guess it goes to the church, right? It was a tax that goes into the church, so the church has helped, the temple. So whose faith grew from this miracle? Number two. Who gained more faith that Jesus was God's son by this? Disciples, Peter, I guess, right? All right. So, in seeing all this, you'd have to think it was something that Peter, like in the Old Testament, they tell one of the kings has leprosy, and Elisha the prophet says, you know what? Go bathe or go dunk yourself, 10, 12, 7 times in the Jordan River. And then that 12th time or whatever, you will actually be healed. It's not that the dunking did anything, it was kind of like the act of faith. And on the 12th time, the walls of Jericho, right? They walked around it for 7 days. And so I think it was an act of faith. What I really thought would happen, because like we already said that Jesus was kind of fed up with the guy, didn't want to argue with him. So I would think the most miraculous thing that Jesus could have done would have been like, oh, you need temple tax? Oh, here it is, right behind your ear. Right? I mean, that's what I would do if I was Jesus. But I mean, I guess he was using it as a learning experience. So, what was the real miraculous act here then?
There's a fish with money in it.
There's a fish with money in it. However, the fish is called a tilapia. Anybody had tilapia before?
It's delicious.
It's called St. Peter's fish or something like that, is its nickname. And Dan had told me that it has its babies, and then will open its mouth because the babies are really premature and young, and it'll hold its babies in its mouth for a while until they're old enough, and then they'll open them up and they go out on their own. And they regularly catch the fish, and they have like a stone in their mouth or something. So But, you know, whether that's keeping the pocket open for when they're going to have kids, or they're stretching it, or like a squirrel, I don't know. But anyways, so it's not uncommon that the fish would have something in its mouth, I guess. Now, that it's exactly a 4 drachma coin you knew about, that's pretty cool. That's miraculous. Is there anything else miraculous here?
But the fish went through the line.
Who's ever been fishing? Who's ever played fishing on, like, what's that one, Animal Crossing or Legend of Zelda? Whoever catches the fish on the first try, or catches that exact fish. Because usually when you throw a line in there, a lot of the little ones will try to get it, or, you know, if anything, tries to bite it.
Match card.
So, anyway, so it's miraculous that the fish jumped on the line. The one he was talking about, so. I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool. All right. Any questions? Good. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Did I answer them all? All right. Miracle number 12. Matthew 21:18-22. Keaton. So wait to read till everybody gets there. Matthew 21, verse 18. No, Matthew 21, verse 18. Everybody there? Anybody need a page number?
698.
It's the next page.
698. It's the page after the next page.
Okay, well,
All right, we ready? All right, go for it, Keaton.
It's not silent.
All right, go.
Early in the morning, as he was on his way back to the city, he was hungry. Seeing a fig tree by the road, he went up to it, but found nothing on it except leaves. Then he said to it, "May you never bear fruit again." Immediately the tree withered.
When
the
disciples
saw this, they were amazed. How did the fig tree wither so quickly? They asked.
Jesus replied,
Oh, what do you got? Okay, you're on 22. Go to 22. Sorry. Go ahead.
Jesus replied, I tell you the truth, if you have faith and do not doubt, not only can you do what was done to the fig tree, but also you can say to this mountain, go, throw yourself into the sea, and it will be done.
All right. So, what was the miracle?
One more.
Oh, there's still. What are you doing?
One more verse.
22 or 3.
Okay. Sorry.
If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer.
Okay. I'm glad we waited for that. All right. Okay. So, what was the miracle?
That he told the tree that it will never bear fruit again, and then it died.
It died. So he killed something.
He killed the tree.
So what? What was the miracle here?
Yeah.
That he. So what happened there was he came up to a tree, and it had leaves on it and stuff. Which, you know, there's not a whole lot of trees in, you know, Jerusalem. There's.
What cool? Why would you do that?
Well, that's the question. So that's why we're here. Not only that, does it. So he killed a tree. He walked up to the tree that he was hungry. This was after this is like the last week of his life, where he's going and getting hammered by the Pharisees and Sadducees, where he's going in and they're like, you know, asking him to pay taxes and then all this other stuff, and this is pretty rough on him. So he comes in, he's hungry, he walks up to a tree that looks like it should have fruit on it. You know what I mean? Like a tree in the summertime or whatever, it looks like it should have fruit on it. It doesn't. He gets upset, I guess, or just at least disappointed in the fact, and says, "No more." And the tree dies from its roots.
Let it go up to heaven.
It stayed there and withered. So, who's ever sprayed like Roundup on a weed? Or weed killer or anything like that? And then came back like the next day and what? It's like brown, right? And it's like shrunk, the water's kind of out of it and that kind of stuff. Or stopped watering one of your plants.
All the time.
Yeah, and it withered. But this withered in like such a rapid pace. All right, so the question is, you know, who did that help?
Not really anybody.
Not really anybody. I guess it would help the next thing that's supposed to grow there, because the stuff would like decompose and make good fertilizer, right?
It helped the ground.
It helped the disciples. Okay, how did it help the disciples? It didn't feed them.
Well, it showed that he still had his power, and that he said if you have the same faith, then you can do the same thing.
Okay.
Show them with prayer, anything is possible.
So he used the miracle as like a teaching moment. We'll use that. Did anybody's faith grow up because of it?
Yes.
Yeah, disciples. All right, let's take Mark's view on it, okay? Let's jump over there and read Mark 11, 12 through 14. Mark, it's you, Julia. Are you ready? All right, wait for everybody. Mark 11, 12 through 14. All right, you ready?
He's hungry again.
Or if you want.
What page? 717.
So, you ready? All right, let's go for it. 12 through 14.
The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry.
And seeing a fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, and haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season of figs.
Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard him.
All right, so same story, right?
It's not the tree's fault. It wasn't in season.
Well, thank you.
Hey, the God of everything that spoke it into life.
Couldn't you just sense that it didn't have fruit? Why did it walk over?
All right, so hey.
Actually, they bear fruit twice a year.
Ooh, so they bear fruit
They
twice a
bear
year.
it in the spring and in the fall.
Was this
He said
But
it
if it
had.
had leaves, it would have been able to. It would have been that time.
He said it wasn't fig season.
So anyway, all right, hey, all right, sidetracked. All right, so same story for Mark, right? Well, we thought that it might be a teachable moment for the disciples, so let's jump to let's go 15 through 26. And Kennedy, you want to start off with that?
On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves.
They would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts.
Oh, and as he taught them, he said, "It is not written, 'My house will be called a house for prayer for all nations,' but you have made it a den of robbers."
The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching.
When evening came, they went out of the city.
In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots.
Peter remembered and said to Jesus, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered."
Have faith in God, and he was answered. I'm telling you the truth. If anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and it does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done.
Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours.
And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive him, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you for your sins.
Okay, so is there any relationship to the fig tree and the people he met that day? Okay, so
Oh, they act.
hold on. All right, so plants, which I've kind of learned. You know, I try to grow a pumpkin in my office. You know, why not, right? You know, I don't have any coworkers, so besides the dog and sometimes the cat when it sneaks back there. But so I try to grow a pumpkin in my back porch, and surprisingly, it grew a vine and a couple flowers, and I was like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. But then nothing happened after the flowers, and I'm like, well, maybe it like needs bees or something or whatever. So I actually started like researching it, and I started to find out that plants will not bear fruit or seeds if it's not happy, or it's kind of like it doesn't have enough nutrients, or this isn't the right place for it, or whatever. So like they're trying to grow some like there's some like really powerful greens. I want to say it's kale, but it's not. It's something else. And there's like lots of money at the universities and people speaking of like how to get it to grow in America, where it would grow a lot better because the climate's a lot easier and we've got more infrastructure to grow it and mass produce it, and people get more nutrition from that than what they would like iceberg lettuce or something. But they have trouble getting it to grow and produce a seed, like to its max. So what it's really saying is that fig tree was really dead on the inside because it didn't have any fruit. It put out leaves, like my pumpkin put out leaves, but it wasn't going to make a fruit. It wasn't going to make a pumpkin. The flowers never opened up or anything. So when Jesus went to the temple that day, what kind of people did he meet?
People that were dead on the inside.
He met Jews, right? Like Christians. He went to church to see. He expected to see people there that they claim like they were Christian or Jews.
That's what I was going to say. Is it like saying that you're a Christian, but not showing you going out and doing what you should do?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So, and how did that make when Jesus encountered it in nature, the fig tree? How did that make him feel? He had it with her, right? What did he do when he encountered it at the temple? He went nuts, didn't he? He didn't go nuts, but I mean, he got angry. One of the few times in the Bible you ever see, Jesus. What was my line on that one? Well, the few times he didn't care to offend anybody. Like the last one we saw, he was like, let's not offend anybody. Go catch a fish, pay the tax. We'll move on, right? This really upsets God. Much like, and that part holds true to all of us right now. If I wear a cross on my shirt and I go eat, but I yell at the waitress because I'm having a bad day, or if somebody comes to me with a problem, Andrew comes with me with a problem that he's just he's struggling in school and he doesn't know what to do and he's having all that stuff, and he sees me as a Christian, as a leader, as somebody that cares for him. And instead I go and tell rumors about him. I post it on Facebook and Twitter and Sparkle. I'm like the fig tree, aren't I? I may talk like a Christian, but I don't act like one. I don't produce the fruit that God would want. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to act like Christian, you're going to look like Christian, you're going to come to church or whatever, then produce the fruit, like it says in Galatians. Produce the fruit that a Christian would. All right? Does anybody have any questions?
I wanna fly with you.